Welcome to Bearcat Update. I'm your host, Jenny James. This week we have a fun-filled show with all the updates from area sports. First, we jump right into the Northwest women's basketball team. The ladies dropped one on Thursday to Pittsburgh State, 73-62. Saturday, the women took on Missouri Southern. That afternoon was a special day for 6 Bearcats as it was senior day for both men's and women's teams at Bearcat Arena. Let's start with the girls. First quarter, slow start for the Bearcats, but Tanya Meyer connects from downtown as the home team leads by 1 heading into the second quarter. Mallory McAndrews joins the party as she drains the 3. The junior finished with 14 points. If you thought the shooting was done, Maria Dentlinger says, "I'll have some of that." As she knocks down the jumper, Northwest heads into the half up 36-35. Second half, Northwest comes out hot. Jalen Haggard breaking ankles and knocking in the 4-point play. The freshman with a team-high 21 points. Late in the third, Mallory Andrews hits the trifecta. The Bearcats hit 11 three-pointers on the game. Northwest gets their 4th win of the season and sends the seniors out happy with a win. 79-73 is the final score. Jalen Haggard led the Bearcats with 21 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Senior Tanya Meyer balled out in her last game in Bearcat Arena, putting up 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. With 2 games left in the regular season, the Cats sit 1 game out of the MIAA tournament. After the game, Meyer reflected on her career as a Bearcat.
You hear other seniors talk about it when you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, and you see it happen, but you never know until you're in the shoes of being a senior and it being your last home game. And you look up at the crowd, and I was thankful enough to have my whole family pretty much is here tonight, so it was good to get the win for the family and the big crowd that we had tonight.
The Northwest men were also in action this week. Thursday, Pittsburgh State came into town. Northwest came in sitting at 21-2, 1.5 games ahead of Washburn University. Justin Pitts did not play on Thursday. He wasn't even in a uniform. But the Bearcats didn't need Pitts. They routed the Gorillas 78-64. Saturday, the men were trying to avenge an early season loss to Missouri Southern on senior night. 4 Bearcats will be graduating for the men's team. First half, Northwest comes out firing. Xavier Kurth buries the 3 from the top of the key, home team up by 5. Moments later, Kurth again, almost from the same spot, the senior with a team-high 19 points. But the Lions fight back. CJ Carr shows off the speed and lays it in among the trees, cutting into the lead. Later in the half, Joy Wittes scores 11 straight points for the Bearcats and finishes with 17 as Northwest heads into halftime down by 3. Second half, Missouri Southern State not going away. Matt Flumerfelt knocks down the 3. Close game late in the second half. Justin Pitts scores 9 straight points, but CJ Carr's 33 points lifts the Lions to a victory on the road, 73-70. The first home loss for the Bearcats in 49 games. The Cats fall to 22-3, still holding on to the #1 spot in the MIAA. Xavier Kurth led the Bearcats with 19 points and 6 rebounds. Joy Wittes put up 17 points with 4 rebounds. Coach Ben McCullum talked after the game about the rough loss.
Yeah, I think rebounding, I think we gave up some timely O-boards. Didn't do a great job of boxing out. Early on, we just weren't playing defense. We just literally weren't playing defense. We weren't in our gaps. We weren't playing the way we're supposed to play. It's like we completely went outside of the framework of our defense and decided to do something completely different. And then offensively, I thought we were pretty inept for the most part, pretty much the whole game. Just, when Brett got in foul trouble, that really hurt us, just because that was our, kind of our game plan is to go inside.
The basketball teams will be back in action for their last 2 regular season games against Lindenwood and Lincoln University next week. We are going to take a quick break, but stick around. We've got more Northwest basketball to come. You're watching Bearcat Update on KNWT Channel 8. With their eyes locked on hosting a regional tournament and advancing to play in Sioux Falls. On Wednesday, the first regional rankings for the 2017-18 season were released. We've brought in Devin Albertson, the sports director from X106, for a special edition of Coach's Corner. Devin, thanks for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. It should be fun talking about Bearcat basketball.
So, like I mentioned earlier, regional rankings came out on the 14th, and Northwest is sitting at the #1 spot in the Central region, but Kind of tricky after yesterday or Saturday's loss, Devin. So what are you expecting to happen with the regional rankings?
Well, as you said, they're losing to Missouri Southern by 3, breaking the 49-game home winning streak for the Bearcats. Really puts a wrinkle in the regional rankings this week. I do think Northwest still has a very strong strength of schedule, a lot of quality wins on their resume, including one over the number 2 team in the region, Northern State. So I think this could be enough to give Northwest that 1 seed still. They still have work to do with games next week versus Lincoln and Lindenwood, and of course the MIAA tournament. So there's less room for error now for the Northwest to get that number 1 seed, but I still think they have the inside track, especially with Southern Nazarene, the 3 seed, losing on Saturday as well. I think that really helped them. That 1-loss team now has 2 losses. That really helps Northwest out getting that 1 seed.
We saw Justin Pitts back in action on Saturday, and we're going to take a look at what Coach McCollum has to say about playing with a limited Justin Pitts.
Hopefully he'll have it next game, and yeah, because early on he just wasn't anywhere near ready to go in regards to his injury. Not he was ready to go, but yeah, he played well down the stretch, made some shots, and made some things happen, and just couldn't get it done.
Devin, what are you expecting to see from JP the rest of the year?
Well, even like late in the game versus Missouri Southern, he had 13 points for the last 4 minutes of the ball game. He looked like the old Justin Pitts. The first probably 25 minutes of his playing time were him just kind of going through the motions on offense, trying to get his feeding underneath him with that turf toe is really kind of bothering him a little bit. But I think there late in crunch time, he really stepped his game up and played like the old Pitts that everybody recognized in Maryville. I think it's a good sign going forward next week when they go at Lincoln and at Lindenwood that he could be back near full strength. I know they have the graphic here where he's only averaging 6.5 points a game after that injury. But I think he's going to be able to get back to the old Pitts by the time the MIAA tournament comes around, and more importantly, by the time the regional tournament comes around and postseason play. And Northwest will be a dangerous team again just because Pitts will be back, and all these guys who've been playing more expansive roles with him being injured will be more well-rounded going into tournament play. I think Northwest is actually better off for it because you have guys who have stepped up their games otherwise, like Wittes and Doherty and Endowed, and they'll step their games up. And I think Pitts, when he comes back to fully healthy, will be able to keep this team where they need to be to win a national championship again.
What do they need to do as a team to move forward and make sure that they don't get another loss like Saturday?
I think the biggest thing right now is just trying to get Pitts reacclimated to the offense and kind of getting that rhythm again because they've gone away from it a little bit with him being injured and going more to like Wittes and Doherty posting up more and running the offense through that. So when Pitts is back, just everybody relearning their old roles while still using what they learned before to maximize this team's performance going forward. So I think Northwest is in a very good situation. I think Coach McCollum's also done a nice job keeping this team motivated and keeping them on the right path. And through this injury, I mean, you win at Washburn without Justin Pitts playing at full strength. He had 0 points that game. You still win. That's a big win. That's a lot of resolve with that team. So I think this team is in good shape going forward.
You kind of talked about some other guys stepping up. How important is it for those younger guys, even on the bench there, to really step up, especially when you're battling the injuries that we've seen this season, and then Chris, getting injured Saturday. So how important is that?
Well, you saw Ryan Hawkins and Ryan Welty both on Thursday versus Pitt State step up in big roles when they were doubling down in the post. They were able to kick out for threes for Welty and Hawkins. Hawkins had a career-high 14 points against Pitt State. I think Welty chipped in either 11 or 13 more points just hitting those outside shots. So those guys were able to step up big and play better roles. And also them coming in and buying into the defensive system really something that Coach McCollum really emphasizes for this team is, hey, you might be able to score on offense, but you have to come in and play good defense too, or else you won't see the floor very much. And I think they've bought in enough that so when Pitts comes back, takes more of the offensive burden off of them, they can still be an impact because they're outside shooters. Hawkins is really good at the backdoor cut as well, and they both play really solid defense. So I think the young guys have done a nice job supplementing what the seniors and Wittes do on offense.
What are you expecting to see in the MIAA tournament?
Well, if you look at the MIAA tournament, it's a rough setup just because you play, Northwest will play Friday, Saturday, Sunday if they win out down there. So it's just back-to-back. You're not used to those type of atmospheres for Northwest with the MIAA schedule. So it's something a little bit different, and it kind of depends on the matchup they get. If Washburn falls down to a 4 seed, that could be a difficult matchup in the second round. Or if they can avoid, I think, Missouri Southern and Washburn until the championship game, that's probably the best situation for them because I think they match up better with everybody else in the conference besides those two teams. And, of course, Nebraska Kearney is also wavering around that 8-9 spot, which could be their first-round matchup. As we know earlier, they knocked off Northwest out in Kearney. So there's a couple teams in this conference that match up well with Northwest, but I think Northwest, when it comes to tournament time, this team has another gear that I think they can get to and win the MIAA tournament.
All right, Devin, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to have you on. And we're going to take a quick break, but we will be back here on KNWT Channel 8. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James. The Maryville High School boys were in action against the state-ranked Mid-Buchanan Dragons on Monday. After the end of the first quarter, the Hounds trailed 3-0. That's right, 3-0. But the Spoof Hounds overcame that deficit and went on to win 40-31. The Lady Spoof Hounds traveled down to Cameron. Freshman Serena Sundell put on a scoring clinic, breaking the school record for points in a game with 33. Before the Spoof Hounds played on Friday, our reporter Nolan Brooks sat down with Serena and Jalen Sundell, a senior for the boys team, about how their competition as children has led to the players they are today.
The Sundell siblings are taking Maryville sports by storm, but Jalen, being the oldest, knows the real reason to compete is beyond the sport itself.
Maryville is a great place to play sports at in general. The tradition we have here with football is something that's very special to our school, and it's a great place to grow up at. So,
despite the busy schedules, Jalen appreciates the time he gets to spend with Serena in his senior year.
honestly, not really. We didn't spend a whole bunch of time together before this year, which is nice because this last year in high school we get to spend some more time together before I leave. But before that, it wasn't. We both had we each had a tournament on a certain weekend, and mom would go with Serena and Dad would go with me, and so we didn't get a lot of time together.
Even Jalen's dad, Bob Sundell, knows that being a two-sport athlete has benefited Jalen.
He's grown up playing basketball, which probably has helped him at football with footwork and that sort of thing. But when he plays basketball, he's a football player playing basketball. But he's done it all his life, so he's fine when he plays basketball.
Serena Sundell is a phenom on the basketball court already as a freshman and is unfazed by the new environment.
I'm not that intimidated. I'm pretty confident on the floor. Play a lot of club basketball during the summer, so I'm used to high-level competition. But playing at a new school with new kids, it's kind of intimidating. But I think I've adjusted well.
Even Serena's dad knows she is a hard worker.
She understands the importance of hard work as well, and she plays on a really good AAU team out of Kansas City, so she'll be working with them all summer long. And she also sees what she needs to work on. She's very intuitive about that. So,
although the kids don't compete on the court, one of them has to be the better athlete, and Dad knows the answer.
They each will have their own path, but if I had to bet right now, I think Serena probably is just much more athletic than Jalen is.
Whether they are on or off the court, the Sundell siblings have an unbreakable brother-sister bond that complements their athletic abilities. For Bearcat Update, I'm Nolan Brooks.
Thanks, Nolan. The Maryville boys traveled down to Savannah in the Highway 71 rivalry. We were there to catch all the highlights. Maryville looking to clinch a share of the MEC Conference title on Friday. Hoping to get an early lead, Tate Oglesby passes the ball to Matthew Madden. He takes a long three-point shot but misses. Tate quickly swoops in for a rebound, and it's good. Showing off his skills tonight, Tate pushes the ball up court, making a quick pass to Jalen Sundell for a beautiful shot. Eli Dowis quickly passes the ball down to Jacob Woods, who sinks another three-pointer for the Spoof Hounds. But Savannah keeps up the pace with Lane Anderson passing the ball to Micah Diamond, who charges straight to the basket before passing it back to Lane for the score. Despite their efforts, Tate Oglesby refuses to give up, charging the defense and passing it to Jacob Woods, who dives to the paint to score another 2 points. Hounds win this one 49-30, their 10th straight victory over Savannah. Jacob Woods led all scorers with 15 points. Jalen Sundell was right behind him with 14. Next week, the Spoof Hounds start district play. Tuesday, the Hounds take on Brookfield in the first round at Penny High School. We are going to take one last break, but stick around. We have more to come. You're watching Bearcat Update on KNWT Channel 8. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James. Although we are 192 days away from the first football game, the Bearcat football team is already preparing for the 2018 season. Our reporter, Maria Babcock, spent a morning with the team. Maria?
Although it's not football season, the Northwest Missouri State football team doesn't stop working. Conditioning, or as they like to call it, Winter Wonderland, prepares the team for the short spring season and ultimately the fall season. Head coach Rich Wright explains how this conditioning strengthens the team mentally and physically.
In the fall, our reward for having a great season is to play in the weather like we experienced in February. And so we try and embrace it as much as possible. One of the things we try and do with the bad weather conditions is train them to block out things that are beyond their control. And of course, weather is way beyond their control. So they've got to block out the cold, they got to block out the fact that it's uncomfortable, and they have to still perform at a high level. So.
Waking up at 6 a.m. to work out in freezing conditions brings the team together. Senior middle linebacker Ben Altop emphasizes the team's commitment.
Getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going out in the cold weather definitely makes you just rely on the guys around you and build that bond and leadership together. Just builds that team commitment that we're committed to each other and committed to the process.
The ultimate goal is to win, and spring conditioning is one of the first steps to prepare the team. Strength and conditioning coach Joe Quinlan explains how everything they do gets them ready for the game.
You know, they don't know their limits that well, so we try to push them a little bit beyond that, and just so they have to pull together and help each other out. But it will really prepare us late in the game or even early in the game if we're down. If you know those guys have been next to you fighting for everything you have invested in this program, hopefully it will help us at those times where they pull together as a team and come out victorious is the ultimate goal.
With the loss early in the 2017 playoffs, many of the guys are working towards a stronger season. The spring helps the team set their standards, reestablish their culture, and develop leaders.
This spring it's really been intense. A lot of guys just kind of have that bitter taste in their mouth from last season and losing early. So just our main focus right now is just developing our teammates, as individuals, and then growing together totally as a team. That's our main emphasis right now, and just getting better each and every day.
I think the biggest thing for spring is to reestablish the culture, set the standards, set the parameters, and then develop and cultivate our leadership, because a lot of our leaders over the last 2 years are gone, and kind of set our new leadership in place to move us and take our program forward.
Coach Wright says that signing on to this football team is signing on to be elite. The team will continue to develop their identity and work on self-improvement. Reporting for Bearcat Update, I'm Maria Babcock.
Thanks, Maria. The Northwest track team has had a great indoor season. Many athletes have hit provisional marks and breaking school records. Jordan Hammond has produced more than the rest. She's breaking records in multiple events and racking up quite the medal count.
This season, Jordan Hammond achieved something some athletes only dream of. She didn't break one, but she actually broke 2 school records in one season.
This season I broke the 60-meter hurdle record and the indoor 400-meter record.
But getting that school record wasn't easy for Jordan, as she was put in lane 8 having nobody to chase but to run for herself.
I wouldn't say discouraged. I knew that meant I had the slowest time in the heat, but I didn't let that discourage me from not being able to win the heat, because I knew I was capable. So I told myself that, just because I have the slowest time coming in doesn't mean that I can't have the fastest time coming out of it. I just got out as hard as I could, and I was confident in my race, I was confident in myself, so I just decided to go for it, and something good came out of it.
It wasn't a smooth path for Jordan. Jordan learns with great success. She also has to learn to live with rough races and rough times.
Right. I'm very competitive, and sometimes I tend to be an emotional athlete, and when I can't reach the goals that I set for myself, I get pretty down, and I have to take a step back and realize that there's a bigger picture. So I think I've just learned from experience running collegiately that you have to keep your head up and just always look at the bigger picture. It's been a pretty good season. I feel like it started out really well. I hit kind of a rough patch with the hurdles, but we're going to start working on some things with my first couple hurdles, and hopefully that gets things going again. I definitely want to be an All-American in the 400 and the hurdles. I definitely think I'm more than capable of being a national champion in the 400 meter this year also.
Jordan's other school record is in the 60-meter hurdles, even though this is her first season running that race.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a quick one. Looking back at the videos that I have in my race, I noticed that I attacked the first hurdle. I wasn't afraid. I didn't slow down to the first hurdle, and I stayed low over all the hurdles, and then I just finished out through the finish line pretty well.
For Bearcat Update, I'm Juwan Bush.
Thanks, Juwan. That's all the time we have, but first it's time for my top 3. Bearcat basketball will finish their regular season play this weekend, playing at Lindenwood Thursday and at Lincoln University Saturday. Northwest baseball will be hosting Emporia State this weekend, and the Northwest track team will be traveling to Pitt State this weekend for the MIAA Conference Championship. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Bearcat Update. You can follow us on Twitter at BearcatUpdate_8 or watch all of our previous episodes on YouTube at KNWT8. Thanks for watching and have a great night. Thanks for watching this week's episode. You can check out last week's episode over here and all our previous episodes down here.